Final video for today. Couple of articles from zerohedge.com. Boy, oh boy, do I absolutely love the effort that the guys at Zero Hedge put in to put their articles together. This is not just them talking. This is what, like, a news agency, you know what I mean? That's what they're supposed to do. Good, bad, ugly, whatever. Nope. Bias. Nope. Just lay it out there. Just like I do when I say, look, I support Trump, but he picked this guy, and here's all the you need to know about this guy. It's Goldman Sachs. He owned the NatWest Bank. He was foreclosing on people. They were protesting at his house, mansion, $25 million house. I got to give it to you. And I'm a fan of Trump. I'm a fan. You know this. And you know this, man. But you got to keep it real. So I'm Realist News. I got to find the best of the best. Comment on it. Read it. Find other sources. Okay, yep. Time for a video. The people need to know this. They need to know this. They need to hear this. They need to know what the hell's going on. Turn that garbage TV mainstream crap off. Not that I have to tell any of you that. They did that to themselves last year with the election fiasco. And, you're a walking dead man of a company when Venezuela kicks you out and calls you fake news, CNN. And they just did that. When Venezuela kicks out CNN and talks about them being fake news, even if you are the most corrupt, potentially corrupt person, in charge of Venezuela, whatever, his number 2 guy, Venezuela, is got some interesting news on him, being basically what I like to call a politician. Liar, cheat, snake, But they had some choice words for CNN. Fantastic. Your days are numbered. Your days are numbered when freaking Venezuela kicks you out and calls you fake news. I mean, that's just wrong in so many different levels. So there's 2 things I want to discuss within these 2 articles. Trump to unveil a passive-aggressive currency war with China? Wait a minute. They just had him. I keep saying this over and over. They just had a meeting. It was very constructive, long meeting. Good stuff come out of it. We're going to level the playing field. Trump to unveil passive-aggressive currency war. What does that mean? And all of a sudden, Chinese inflation explodes to 2011 highs out of nowhere. Where did that come from? In an ominous sign of the need for more tightening, Chinese inflation, CPI and PPI, ripped higher in January. Both consumer and producer prices rose more than unexpectedly. But it was the 6.9% spike in PPI that is most troublesome. Fastest rate of price expansion since August 2011. And consumer prices are rising at the fastest pace since 2013. Driven largely by reflexive commodity exuberance, the relative input versus output cost inflation will likely be a huge drag on Chinese corporates. And with Chinese food prices also rising notably, especially pork, one wonders what trick China has up its sleeve next to suspend reality. Notably, the China inflation data follows extremely strong German inflation data that just came out. As the world's central bankers get cornered by their own reflexively induced commodity price inflation and are forced to pull the plug or prick the bubble. That's interesting. But again, they're having issues. Inflation. Now, we got inflation problems. Now we may have to have currency war. I think there's going to be some fireworks in the coming, maybe this year, maybe as soon as this year. I think for sure by next year it should be blatantly obvious, in my opinion. But these people certainly can drag stuff on. They're experts at that, as you've seen. But the main article that I want to really talk about is this one. Trump to unveil passive-aggressive currency war with China? What the hell is that? He says, call it a passive-aggressive currency war. While one of Trump's most sincere desires both during his campaign and ideologically from his life prior to politics, has been to publicly declare China a currency manipulator, something he promised he would do on day one of his administration, and crack down on the undervalued yuan, even though over the past 18 months, China has been scrambling to prevent further devaluation of the yuan in light of over $1 trillion in capital outflows in recent years. Lately, Trump appears to have gotten second thoughts, and after backing off on his intent to negotiate the One China policy, now Trump is looking for a way out of engaging China directly in currency war. That is the impression we get from reading a Wall Street Journal piece, according to which the White House is exploring a new tactic to discourage China from devaluing the yuan to boost exports without explicitly accusing it of currency manipulation, something the U.S. did, which last did it anyways, in 1994 under the Clinton administration. Under the plan, U.S. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross would designate the general practice of currency manipulation, quote, as an unfair subsidy when employed by any country, instead of singling out China, end quote. Following such a designation, U.S. companies would be in a position to bring anti-subsidy actions themselves to the U.S. Commerce Department against China or other countries. By engaging in such passive-aggressive currency warfare, which avoids direct confrontation with Beijing, and which may have been conceived during last week's Trump-Xi, which is the Chinese president, phone call, the administration would avoid making confrontational claims about whether China is manipulating its currency for trade benefit, the Wall Street Journal reports. In the process, allowing Xi to save face and avoid having to defend himself domestically in a key year politically for the Chinese president. Trump also avoids looking weak, as eventually exporter complaints can be addressed via conventional channels, resulting in tariffs and other anti-subsidy actions, as has been the case for many years under the Obama administration. But there would be no a priori statement of currency manipulation intent singling out any one country, namely China. To be sure, the Wall Street Journal confirms that the move could be a sign the Trump administration is softening its stance on China. During his president's campaign, Donald Trump threatened to label China a currency manipulator on the first day of his administration, which he didn't do. He also threatened to slap 45% tariffs on Chinese goods, an idea he hasn't raised recently. A potential complication emerges in that just like Trump's border adjustment proposal, the currency move, is if effected, may be a violation of World Trade Organization rules, the same as BAT or BAT. Other countries are also sure to take similar measures against U.S. exports and could argue that Federal Reserve policies that weaken the dollar qualify as subsidies. They would be completely right. It also explains why in a world in which, absent a modest detour here and there, everyone is rushing to devalue their currency, the Obama administration, concerned about such consequences, decided against naming currency practices as a subsidy. Making things more complicated is that until recently, China was actively devaluing the yuan far more aggressively against all other members of its currency basket, while strengthening relative to the dollar, diluting the American case that China was singling it out in currency warfare, and ironically giving other nations ammo to launch complaints against China. Now, remember what the Webbot said about there's going to be a time coming in the near future, the only thing rising faster than interest rates or something like in China is going to be Bitcoin, and that's going to be the big talk, something like that. Only thing rising faster is Bitcoin, something like that. You take interest rates rising and China actively devaluing and other countries devaluing, yeah, the price of Bitcoin and precious metals, but especially Bitcoin, it's going to go up. A string of corporate executives have told the Trump White House that China no longer is pursuing an undervalued currency and has run through $1 trillion in foreign reserves trying to stem the yuan's persistent decline. In an interview with the Journal in January, Mr. Trump rejected that claim, saying Chinese leaders talk about supporting their currency because they don't want us to get angry. In any case, just like most of Trump's other economic priorities, at least as stated during his campaign, now currency manipulation is not on the top of the agenda of the American business community in China, says James McGregor, China chairman for APCO Worldwide, a communications and lobbying firm. Last week, he visited the White House and other government offices as part of a delegation of U.S. business officials from China. As for the new approach, it is really nothing new compared to how U.S.-China trade relations were under Obama. Categorizing currency manipulation as a subsidy would give U.S. companies a new measure to use in case China reverts to a more mercantilist approach. Companies routinely bring anti-subsidy suits to the Commerce Department against imports which they argue are being improperly subsidized by foreign governments. If the U.S. firms prevail, Commerce often assesses heavy duties on those imports, which sharply limits imports. It's a great first move, said Dan D'Amico, former chief executive of steelmaker Nucor Corp., who has been advising the Trump team on trade issues. It allows companies to use trade laws to consider currency manipulation, which is rampant in the world, especially in China, as a subsidy. As the Wall Street Journal adds, prominent Democrats, including Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer of New York and Ohio's Sherrod Brown, have long argued for previous administrations to make such a change. And finally, the Wall Street Journal also reports that the Trump administration is also looking to tighten oversight of foreign acquisitions of U.S. firms that have access to important technology. In other words, curbs Chinese inbound M&A, which emerged 1 year ago as one of China's preferred mechanisms of engaging in offshore cash laundering, of course, in addition to buying Vancouver houses, of course. The Committee on Foreign Investment in the U.S., or CFI-US, an interagency committee that reviews foreign acquisitions, would get broader scope to reject deals that threaten national interests, said individuals involved in discussions with the White House. So on that piece, I wonder if they're talking about something like, remember the little Harry Reid deal? He was trying to get the Chinese company over here, take some of the Bundy's land, and make a giant solar farm for the Chinese, but it didn't go through because there's a big protest and all that. Remember that? This little entity or this committee could squash a deal like that. Sorry, Senator, we know you took some backdoor money, but this committee stops that. It would endanger national interest. We have our own solar power stuff here. We'd rather use it. Thanks. Have a nice day. You corrupt, rotten senator bastard. That might be how I said it if I was on the committee. The White House is also examining the creation of an additional panel to look more broadly at the transfer of U.S. technology overseas, whether by acquisition, license, or joint venture, the people said. Beijing has traditionally counted on American corporations to blunt U.S. government policy offenses on the Chinese economy. But that support may be weakening. According to a survey last month by the American Chamber of Commerce in China, 81% member companies feel that foreign businesses are less welcome in China. That's interesting. The American business community in China welcomes a pushback because China has overreached, said Mr. McGregor, the APCO official. But it has to be smart and well thought out and focus on real issues between the two countries, such as techno-nationalism and the step-by-step closing of market access for foreign companies in China. The take-home summary: less than 1 month into the job, Trump is realizing that making any real changes in the global economic status quo, aside from public bluster and tweeting about it, will be far more difficult than he thought. And now that Mnuchin is by his side providing advice, it is safe to say that most, if not all, of Trump's radical economic promises will soon similarly fade away into the active, aggressive horizon, as he labels it. And that's possible, but it might be that he's going to still do it anyways. Look, I don't care how hard this is. I know it's difficult, but I made a promise, and I'm going to stand by it. Because everything that you guys want me to do ultimately is going to benefit you guys. Whether there's pain or not, we need to do this. And he may just put his foot down. Remains to be seen. But again, when you look at how bad the entire establishment, from the media to all the politicians, everybody that was against Trump, and there's still a lot done. Target is now going to remove his daughter's clothing line. Oh, so is Kmart. So is Nordstrom's. And all. Guess what? I will not be going to Kmart for any reason. I will not be going to Nordstrom's for any reason. Anyone else on that list? I will not be going there for any reason. And I heard Nordstrom's had a pretty quick. It had a pretty quick effect of what I should say. It being Trump supporters saying, "I'm not going there anymore." Like right off the bat, sales numbers plummeted. I effing love it. F with us, we F back. Oh, Target, what's that? You're going to do the transgender bathroom thing? Oh, okay. Go ahead. We're not shopping there anymore. Oh, Target lost $1 billion. Oh, oops, sorry. Transgender bathrooms. Get the hell out of here. What is this? Freaking Carnival? Take care.